Jay here, Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're in the studio. We are live, so get involved in all the chat in the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news. Going to be talking about Ruben Amorim. Going to be talking about the January transfer situation. What is happening in January, or what is going to happen in January? Could we be in for some midfielders? That's the sort of never-ending story at the minute, isn't it? Are we going to go for Elliot Anderson? Are we going to bring in Carlos Baleba? What's going to happen with Kobbie Mainoo? There's a load of stories doing the rounds that are sort of constantly doing the rounds, so we'll be getting into that. Also, a little bit about Joshua Zirkzee, Toby Collier, something on the tactics of Ruben Amorim and how, even though we've got less of the ball, we're actually more productive. So we'll be getting into all that. So make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Good to see all the usual suspects and some new ones in the chat. Real recognises real. Glenn F. Notch is here. Mick Holohan's here. Maurice Marshall. Good to see all you people. Tyler Ward, Brian Casey, Jeremy Fox. Morning to you all. Make sure you are hitting that like button, please, people. Let's talk about midfielders. Let's just get into it. Because we'll start with this. This is in the evening news. The evening news have done a little bit of a sort of rolling news, update, transfer live kind of thing that they do on their website every day. And there's a few that we're going to go through here. And look, I'll be honest with you. I feel like now, the beginning of November, nothing is really clear. Let's just be honest. We don't know what it truly going to happen. We can suggest things, we can guess things, we can look at what's being suggested, we can sort of think about it logically, we can look at what the journalists we trust are saying, but at the minute it does feel like it's all up in the air, including the future of Kobbie Mainoo. So it says Napoli giving Kobbie Mainoo boost. Manchester United are reportedly more willing to loan Kobbie Mainoo, according to reports. The United Academy graduate has been confined to the bench, with Ruben Amorim stating the youngster is directly competing with Bruno Fernandes. So it says there, Napoli are interested in him. Napoli have been interested in Mainoo, having already bought Scott McTominay and loaned Rasmus Højlund from United. With Kevin De Bruyne also picking up an injury recently, they may even return for Mainoo. There's lots of ifs and buts and maybes there, isn't there? Look, I love Kobbie Mainoo. Everyone who watches this channel knows that I do. I think there's not many United fans that don't. He's an academy graduate. We've seen him come through into the team. We saw him score the decisive goal at Wembley against Manchester City. We've seen him have some real big moments, the equaliser against Lyon, for example, the goal against Liverpool, the winner against Wolves. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. However, the last this season, it's not been happening, has it? He's had one start against Grimsby where we got knocked out of the Carabao Cup. He's barely featured in the Premier League in terms of appearances. I mean, he's had appearances, but minutes haven't been great. He didn't even get off the bench at the City ground. Now, he wasn't alone. The manager didn't make many changes there, did he? Even Mason Mount, who's had a pretty good season, didn't get off the bench. I don't know if that was a fitness thing, though. So, it's just, my worry with Kobbie Mainoo is he's progressed nicely. He came through into the academy team when he was, 15, 16? He was very young when he got into that academy team. Helped win the FA Youth Cup. Then he came into the first team at the age of 18. People thought he might be used sparingly. He then was almost ever-present under Erik ten Hag once he broke into the team. Gets himself in the England squad. Goes all the way to the Euros final. We know all the rest. However, last season, even though he had more games, I don't think he had as many minutes. And this season, he's barely featured. Now, you want young players to progress, and I always worry when a player goes from playing quite a lot to not playing at all or barely playing, because that can sort of stunt their progression. So you do want Kobbie Mainoo to progress. I don't want him to go out or to leave the club permanently. I think that'd be a mistake. I think there's a very good player there, and he's still only young, so let's not give up on him yet. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with him, because he's not really getting a look in. He's obviously got aspirations as well of playing for England in the World Cup. Those chances are looking fewer or less likely by each passing week, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. A player who has done very well in England's shirt could get himself back in the England squad, even if he went out on loan in January and did really well for those 4 months. That might be enough to make Thomas Tuchel go, look, we know what he can do for England. He's doing well for his club. Let's bring him back into the fold. Thomas Tuchel is not against bringing players back into the England squad. Look at Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford's had 6-month spell. I know he did quite well at Aston Villa. He didn't set the world alight, but he's done well at Barcelona, and he's back in the England fold. There's sort that Danny Welbeck's going to get back in there, and rightly so. So I don't think the door will be closed on Kobbie Mainoo, but it's looking, like I said earlier, less likely. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the comments and let me know what you think about Kobbie Mainoo. Do you want to see him go out on loan? Do you think he should? Does anyone think he should just sell him? Does anyone think that Kobbie Mainoo, I mean, I don't, but do you? It's your forum as much as it is mine. Bradley says, morning, Jay. Is Steve all right? He's not uploaded his morning video today. Yeah, he's fine. I've just spoke to him. He's going to be on this channel later on today off the bar, me, Steve and Joe. So he's perfectly fine. I've been chatting to him. Don't worry. I'll send him your regards. Brian Casey says, he's still only a kid, to be fair. We don't want to overuse him, but I agree. He does need to play more. Yeah, it's getting that balance, isn't it? He is only a kid, but you want him to progress. You don't want him to have a season off. So how can we do that? Santa Not says, think Ruben has settled a bit more on the team he wants, and Mainoo is the unlucky position of being understudy solely to Bruno in his eyes. Yeah, and there's nothing worse than being understudy to Bruno Fernandes because the guy's never injured. He's an ever-present. He's the captain. He's arguably our most talented player. So are you going to sort of knock him out of the squad? No. Now, look, Kobbie Mainoo can get minutes. He's done that this season, but he ain't going to get many starts because I just don't see Bruno Fernandes getting injured. I know they can play together, but it doesn't feel like the manager truly sees them playing in the same team together. So it's just unfortunate. Maurice Marshall says, we will need Mainoo during the AFCON. This is an interesting one because let's get into this slightly. During AFCON, we lose Mazraoui and Mbeumo. Don't get me started. And Ahmad. And again, don't get me started on that. That's 3 of our best players. So if you were to lose that, how does that affect Mainoo? Potentially, Bruno moves into the number 10. And that could mean Mainoo comes into the Bruno role when Mbeumo goes. Maybe that's what happens. I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's a lot there. Just even losing those 3 players. I don't know if there's a pathway there for Mainoo. There's another thing here on Joshua Zirkzee that producer Harry's just highlighted. So it says here that the club are not going to let Joshua Zirkzee go out on loan or leave the club in January because of the AFCON. Now, this kind of makes sense to me because Zirkzee hasn't had a lot of minutes. He's had some minutes. But if you were to lose Mbeumo and Ahmad, I know Ahmad's more right wing back, but he is an option in the number 10, then can you afford to lose Zirkzee as well? Probably not. I think Zirkzee might feature a little bit more. And also, the thing at the minute is we haven't got any injuries, which is rare. If you were to lose, say, Mateus Cunha for a bit, and then you lose Mbeumo and Ahmad to the AFCON, or you lost Mason Mount and then Mbeumo and Ahmad, then would you want to let Zirkzee go out on loan as well? I don't think you would. And now Zirkzee's probably another player, well, he is another player, I'll be looking at it going, I need to get in Ronald Koeman's Dutch squad. I ain't going to do that if I'm playing 5 minutes a game for Manchester United. But from a United point of view, is it beneficial to us to let Zirkzee go out on loan? It's slightly different with Zirkzee because with Mainoo, there's a whole thing about his development and you want to nurture him slightly and see him progress. With Zirkzee, it's a little bit different. I don't think that's as much of an issue with him because he's slightly older and there's a good chance that Joshua Zirkzee doesn't end up staying at United for that much longer anyway. So do you just go look at the here and now? We need him. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Glenn F says we lose Mazraoui, don't we? I mentioned Mazraoui and Mainoo is too slow. I don't know about Mainoo being too slow. I just think you need the right system to fit him in. Santa Not says, was about to mention the lack of injuries. Stands to reason some popular players won't get as much game time if we're staying mainly fit. Kieran Doherty, says he's not athletic enough to get in our midfield. The 2-man midfield thing is a bit of an issue. He needs legs next to him, doesn't he? I think he could work with some legs next to him. I think Kobbie Mainoo's an amazingly tired footballer. This is a bit of a weird one. Saw this on West Brom News, I think it was. I don't know about you, I read it daily. So, Manchester United may now recall Toby Collier as West Brom injury update drops. At first I thought this and I thought, okay, does this mean Toby Collier is going to come back to United? Could he be an option for Ruben Amrim? Is he looking at it going, you know what, he's done really well at West Brom, let's bring him back into the fold? It's none of that. I think it's because he's got an injury. The suggestion is here that United may say, come back and treat your injury at Carrington for his rehab. But it says it there, Collier could now be on his way back to Old Trafford rehabilitation, but that could depend on the existing relationship in the Black Country. It's not quite worked out for him, has it, so far at West Brom? Obviously with that injury, I think he got an injury in October. Is it against Preston? So I'd be interested. I wanted to see how Toby Collier got on because I feel a little bit sorry for him because he had that sort of baptism of fire, didn't he? He came on, I think, for his Premier League debut when we were 2-0 down against Liverpool at Old Trafford. and he replaced Casemiro, which is not exactly easy. So he came in for that. Then he had some games where he actually did quite well. I remember him having a very good game at the Emirates against Arsenal. Then he got an injury, just at a time when he was probably going to get some minutes. So it's not really happened for him. And I think a lower move makes sense. But then again, at West Brom, it's not happening. And then you've got this injury. And then you start getting into this sort of narrative, don't you? Like, is he someone that injuries are a bit of a problem for? I know injuries are a problem for everyone. But my point is, does he pick up injuries quite a lot often? I don't think he does, but it's easy to sort of start worrying about it when he's missing, key games or he's missing parts of the season because of it. He missed a big part of the season last season when he probably would have got some games, and now he's gone on loan to West Brom and he's out with an injury. It's not ideal, and I feel for Toby Collier, I really do. I think there's a player there. Is there a Manchester United player there? Is he good enough? I don't know, is the answer. And I think we're too quick sometimes. He's 21 or he's done. He's not. Look at Jesse Lingard, was he 23? Before he started getting minutes. We'll have to wait and see, but he needs a productive loan spell this season, whether that's at West Brom or anyone else. So it's one to keep an eye on. Santa Notch says, we need players who want to be at the club, not just loan them out if they get less games when we only play once a week. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. Only 0.1% make it to be a first team legend. We had Trevor on the channel on the watch along at the weekend. Trevor used to coach at United, and he was talking about that. He's talking about players who, he's coached young players at Manchester United, players who've gone on to make the first team, players that haven't, and he used to sort of tell them that, there's only a very small number that actually make it at Manchester United, but a lot of you will make it as professional footballers. And that's what happens to a lot of players. We had the Manny Mellor on the channel quite a lot, and he's got his own channel more than a match that he does with Ryan Hopper. Obviously, didn't make it at Manchester United, but has gone on to make it elsewhere. Plays for Macclesfield Town now, has done well there. We've had loads of players. Jimmy Garner is another example. The talk of us going back in for Jimmy Garner. Didn't quite make it at Manchester United, gone to Everton, done very well there indeed. Let's talk a little bit about Ruben Amorim and what's working for him and what isn't. So, Carl Anker, friend of the channel, we're getting him on again soon, says Manchester United appear to be better in matches where they have less of the ball. Is that intentional from Amorim or something to get worried about? Delving into the numbers with Connor O'Neill. So I was reading this article this morning, and it was just sort of making that point about the fact that when Manchester United have had less of the ball, when we've had less than 50% of the ball, in the 14 games we've had less than 50%, we've won 7, drawn 4 and lost 3. When we've had more than 50%, there's 23 games where we've had more than 50%, we've won 5, drawn 4 and lost 14. Now there's a lot more to get into than just that. So it is one of those where you maybe need to do a deep dive. I think rather than just sort of doing some ham-fisted sort of analysis of that article, go and have a look at it. It's in the Athletic or the New York Times. It's same thing. But it looks at the sort of the numbers there, and we'll chat to Carl about it hopefully in the near future as well, and he can explain it far better than I can. But it's just an interesting side to this sort of part of Ruben Amorim's United career now, where we don't seem to be as possession-based, do we? And there's a lot of sort of emphasis on just getting the ball further up the pitch quicker as well, which I don't mind that. I'm just a simple man, mate. You know that. I just want to win football matches, and if that means Salomon's just booting it up and Sesko getting his head on it and Brian Mbeumo banging it in, I'll settle for it. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. There's an interesting one here. I think this is from the MEN about the Scousers and Ruben Amorim. How Liverpool's true thoughts on Man United boss Ruben Amorim revealed in new book. Liverpool were heavily linked with a move from Ruben Amorim before the Portuguese manager eventually took over at Manchester United. A new book has revealed there was something in this, right? I don't know if it's the same book, but there was a story doing the rounds a little while ago that one of the reasons Liverpool weren't too keen on Ruben Amorim was the fact they felt they'd have to spend hundreds of millions of pounds getting the players in to fit into his system. So what they did was they got in Arne Slot and then they went and spent hundreds of millions of pounds getting the players in to fit into his system. Okay. I mean, look, they've won the title under Arne Slot on the second time in 30 years, so I doubt there's any Scousers sitting there going, we should have got the guy who's just finished 15th for United. But it's just interesting. I think it's James Pearce writes, after Alonso publicly ruled himself out of contention, the name most persistently linked with Liverpool in the media was Sporting Lisbon coach Amorim, who was about to clinch his second Primera Liga title with the Portuguese Giants. Yet while the Reds appreciated Amorim's accomplishments in Portugal, they weren't sure about his tactical approach and playing philosophy, which were not considered suitable for the Liverpool squad. Pearce adds, Amorim was a serious contender and boasted the best record in terms of player availability. However, that was partly attributed to him working in a less intense league. So that was something, we mentioned this on Paddock Live last night, about his injury record. Players under Amorim don't tend to get injured that often, and that is very appealing to a lot of clubs. It's mad, isn't it? Like, they look at that and they go, if you get him, you might not get injuries. There was plenty to admire, but Edwards and Hughes had doubts whether his preference for a three-man defence would suit the squad he would be inheriting at Anfield. There was also concerns that his slower, less dynamic style of play might fail to energise supporters. Look, we'll see how it all pans out. At the minute, Liverpool fans, I know they've just had a horrendous run, but they have just beaten Real Madrid, will be more than happy with Arne Slot over Ruben Amorim. Let's be frank, they just will. But we'll see, who has the last laugh with all that. I don't think Liverpool fans will be lamenting the fact that they didn't get Ruben Amorim. I'm glad we've got Ruben Amorim. We'll have to wait and see. I think the jury's still out, it's safe to say, but we are seeing green shoots. I want to get into this one. Troy Deeney, right? Now, I like Troy Deeney. I admire his story. He's a guy who's, he's been through his struggles. He's been, he's done a bit of birth and all that. He's come out, done well in the Premier League, had a good career. And I like the fact he's one of those, you stick a mic in front of him and he'll say what he's thinking. I don't mind that. I mean, it got him in trouble when he was managing, was it Forest Green Rovers, when he just basically gave a post-match press conference and said his players were rubbish. But I don't mind him. My missus is a big fan of his. She's got his book and it's a really good read. However, with all that being said, I think this is bang out of order. I think it's nonsense. So he's accused Benjamin Sesko here of being too lightweight at Manchester United. Speaking on the Football Exchange, the ex-Watford striker said, Benjamin Sesko looks like a baby giraffe. I'm looking at him, he scored 2 goals before the international break in back-to-back games, and I was like, okay, you're going to have an international break and then come back full of confidence. I'm not talking about scoring because strikers go through spells where they don't score, unless you're Erling Haaland, obviously. But for most normal people, you go through little breaks. But I don't see what he does. He's 6'4" inches. Honestly, I pee stronger than him at times. He doesn't run over people. He's always on his heels. You have Cunha and Bomo trying to play off him. If they need to come it short, he runs in behind. If they need him to run in behind, he comes short. He's never on the same wavelength with his team. That's not true. I don't think that's true at all. Go back to the Chelsea game. Why did Chelsea get a red card? Was it Sanchez got sent off, the goalkeeper? Because Sesko gets his head on something, flicks it on from Bomo, runs onto it, Sanchez gets a red card. Now, that's not an assist or a goal, but it's affecting the game. And that more or less won us the game. When Chelsea went down to 10 men, that was it. I know we did later on in that game, but it wasn't until another 40 minutes. By that time, I think we were 2 goals up. So there's elements of his game that aren't just about goals, that are linking up with his teammates. And he is doing well. And I think it's very hard to say he looks like a baby giraffe. Look, I base my opinions a lot of the time of what I see. I'm not always about stats. I think, especially with Manchester United players, I don't need to rely on stats because I watch them every week. So I'm sure you do. When I've seen Benjamin Sesko, I've been impressed with what I see. I think you can tell there's a very good player there. And look, he's not set the world alight in terms of goals and assists. I think he got 2 goals. But it's not that bad. He's got 2 Premier League goals. Let's not forget, everyone was hammering Rasmus Højlund last season. Rasmus Højlund got 4 Premier League goals across the entire season. Sesko's come in, he's got a couple of goals, he's looked lively, he's looked effective in certain games. It's not been all perfect, and I didn't think it would be. And I don't think there's any Manchester United fans that thought Sesko comes in and straight away he just starts banging in goals every week. I think it's going to take time. And let's not forget as well, he didn't have the same pre-season as the likes of Mbeumo and Cunha. And let's not also forget, they've played in the Premier League before. They were coming off the back of 2, 3 Premier League seasons, whatever it was. So they've had Premier League experience. He's coming into a new league. He's not had a full pre-season. He's got to get used to his teammates, his system, and the league. And I think he's done well. And now he's become this sort of punching bag where everyone's sort of digging him out because they can't have a go at Mbeumo because he's just one player of October. They can't really have a go at Cunha because his performances have got better each week. So who can we have a go at? We can't have a go at Diego Leon because he's not even getting the team. Can't have a go at Sen Lamons because he's doing really well. Let's pick on Sesko. What's that? Oh, he looks like a baby giraffe. Does he? Show me the game where you've seen that, because I haven't seen it, and I've watched every game he's played for Manchester United. I think he's looked very effective. I think he's looked a good player. And I think that's just nonsensical. I think that's just sort of generating views or whatever. Let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat in the comments. I'm not saying Sesko is unbelievable, but I think he's done well. Santa Notch says, we can judge this by seeing what praising bollocks he says about Gyökeres. Glenn F says, hit the like button. Good shout. Manish Bandari says, Jay, what's the point in Sir Jim owning Nice when we can't develop our players in France? I don't know. Let's talk of it, don't we? What's the Swiss club he's got? Is it Lucerne? And don't we have some sort of relationship with them? Bring back the days of Royal Antwerp. That's what I say. Here's an article that shouldn't have been written. Garnacho. Alejandro Garnacho U-turn speaks volumes of Ruben Amorim signing singled out. I mean, this is just a whole lot of waffle here. Garnacho, did he score last night? Yeah. So he scored last night. And then there's this sort of article about, oh, should he have gone? What's he going on? It's like, just, it's a lot of nothingness, this. So he mentioned about the fact he left under controversy. Yes, he did. We knew it was pretty much untenable. The manager didn't fancy him. He was very frustrating to watch last season, Alejandro Garnacho. His behaviour on social media wasn't great. His brother's behaviour, I can't believe I'm saying these words out loud, but his brother's behaviour wasn't great. And it just became a bit of a nightmare. And you can see there, we all know what happened after the Europa League final. It became untenable. Then you go, there you go. You can see Garnacho's brother Roberto poured fuel on the fire with comments he made criticising the manager's decisions on social media. In the end, the player was deemed too troublesome and completed the move to West London after 5 years in Manchester. It goes on to say here, but any signs of rebelliousness appeared to have dissipated in the capital. That's after Gimme Sport reported Chelsea staff have been impressed by the attacker's attitude and intensity in training, even staying late to work on his product in the final third. Then goes on to say, his place in Maresca's plans is far from absolute, however. Garnacho has one direct goal involvement in 8 outings for the Blues. That's not true, and he got 2. And had to settle for a place on the bench in Chelsea's last 6 Premier League outings. Whether it's down to environment, his new coach, or factors, reports suggest he has changed for the better nonetheless. However, those at Man United may still wonder whether it's merely a matter of time before Garnacho's frustrations bubble to the surface once more in time. Should we do something? Should we just move on from Garnacho? Get rid of that. I'm going to move on. I'm sure you want to move on. That article is completely and utterly meaningless. And I'm just sick of hearing about Garnacho. When he scores, we're going to have articles going, oh, should he have left United? When he has a stinker, you'll have Chelsea fans going, we should never have bought him off United. It's going to go on and on and on. The fact of the matter is, it was untenable at Manchester United. He had his opportunities. There was a time when I thought he was going to have a bright future at United. That didn't happen. He's moved on, and I think we should too. Let's talk about my favourite topic, the greatest manager the world has ever seen. 39 years ago today, Sir Alex Ferguson was appointed manager of Manchester United Football Club, and the rest is history. Says it all. Came into a club that hadn't won a title since the 60s. Yeah, that was in disarray. I think we were 4th bottom when he took over. I think we'd just been battered 4-1 off Southampton. There was a drinking culture at the club. The scouting system was in disarray. I think City had far more scouts than us. The training ground was a bit of a cabbage patch. There was just a complete mess that he had to deal with. And he did, and he turned it around, and he fixed everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything from the scouting, from the training, to the first team, to the lot. Let's not forget, by the time Sir Alex Ferguson lifted that title in 1993, he did so with a completely new team than what he'd inherited. Yes, you had Brian Robson, but he was more of a substitute at the time. But Sir Alex Ferguson built a team from scratch and won a title, and then went on to win the lot several times over and kept rebuilding that team. The team that won the title in 99 was very different from the team that won it in 93. The team that won the title in 2007, 2008, 2009 was very different from the team that won it in 2003. And the team that won it in 2013 was very different from all those teams as well. He kept rebuilding. He kept doing something that we've never seen before, and I don't think we'll ever see again. I don't think we'll ever see a manager in the Premier League build a team from scratch and then go on to win 13 Premier League titles. No manager's done that. Wenger inherited a good team. Klopp inherited some players, but he bought a lot of players. I'll give you that. There's a similarity there, but he didn't do what Fergie did. He won 1 title. Pep Guardiola inherited a team that had won 2 of the last 4 titles. I think they'd just been at a Champions League semi-final. So yes, he did very well in terms of success, but he inherited a very good team. Fergie didn't. Fergie inherited something that was a bit of a mess, and he made it the greatest team the world has ever seen. So that is why, for me, he will always be the GOAT. And anyone who says otherwise is wrong, unless they say Matt Busby. Then we can have a conversation. I'm going to leave it there. Make sure, Sir Matt Busby. Make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. Get involved in the chat and the comments as always. Don't forget as well, some merchandise we've got. We'll put a link in the description. Go and check out the Paddock merchandise available from the store as well. We're going to be back later on today with Off the Bar, me, House and Joseph. Then we're going to have the preview as well, looking ahead to the game against Spurs. Surely we can't lose 5 in a row to Spurs. I can't cope with that. Anyway, I'm Jay Marty. This has been the Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.